interviewer is going to analyze your abilities and your weaknesses. En una entrevista de trabajo, el entrevistador va a evaluarte o analizar tus habilidades y tus habilidades. So for that reason, you need to be prepared for every single answer you need to answer before every single question. So por esa razón, tú debes prepararte en qué responder para cada diferente pregunta. Alright? In the first question, you will count with 30 seconds for answering. En la primera pregunta, tú contarás con 30 segundos para responder. And it's necessary to give the best impression of yourself. Y es necesario dar la mejor impresión de ti mismo, okay? Taking into account, in particular, your abilities. Taking into account what makes you different from others. Teniendo en cuenta en particular cuáles son tus habilidades. Teniendo en cuenta qué es lo que te hace diferente de otros. What are your talents that others don't have? ¿Cuáles son tus talentos que otros no tienen? Right? So, I want that you reflect on the following question. Así que yo quiero que tú reflexiones en la siguiente pregunta. What makes you different from others? How do you sell yourself? ¿Qué te hace diferente de otros? ¿Cómo tú te vendes a ti mismo? But take into account this. You don't sell yourself short. No te vendas tú de una manera corta. Usually people answer, usualmente las personas responden, I'm responsible, I'm intelligent, I'm an honest person, soy responsable, soy honesto, soy inteligente. But they are basic answers, pero ellas son respuestas básicas. You need to consider that you are going to give the best impression of yourself. Tú necesitas considerar que vas a dar la mejor impresión de ti mismo. So, let's reflect on what makes you different from others. ¿Qué te hace diferente de otros? Okay? So, the first question usually interviewers ask is the following. Tell me something about you. La primera entrevista que usualmente los entrevistadores hacen, la primera pregunta es, cuéntame sobre ti. So they are going to ask you, tell me something about you. Tell me about you or tell me about yourself. In that moment, you will have 30 seconds. En ese momento, tú tendrás 30 segundos to demonstrate your interviewer how good you are in what you do. Qué tan bueno eres en lo que tú haces. Okay? So, during that time, it's necessary to consider your principal abilities and focus on those abilities you consider the company will require from you. Y especialmente tener en cuenta esas habilidades que la compañía requiere de ti. It's different to apply for a school, okay? Es diferente aplicar para un colegio, to a company about businesses, a una compañía de negocios, okay? So you need to consider those aspects, okay? Así que necesitas considerar esos aspectos, okay? So, for example, in these 30 seconds, I recommend you to describe yourself in 3 words. En estos 30 minutos, 30 segundos, yo te recomiendo describirte a ti en 3 palabras. For example, I'm a person who loves the risk. I'm a person who loves the strategy. I'm a person with a good knowledge. Soy una persona que le gusta el riesgo, una persona que le gusta la estrategia y que tiene un buen conocimiento, okay? For the job you are applying, para el trabajo que tú estás aplicando. So the official question always will be, así que la pregunta oficial siempre será, tell me something about you. Tell me something about yourself. Cuéntame algo sobre ti. I invite you to reflect on this question and considering what makes you different from others. Yo te invito a reflexionar sobre esta pregunta y considerar qué te hace a ti diferente de otras personas. Okay? And remember, don't sell yourself short. Don't sell yourself short. No te vendas a ti mismo de una manera corta. I'm responsible. All people around the world answer the same. Todas las personas alrededor del mundo siempre responden lo mismo en a job interview. I'm responsible. Soy responsable. I'm honest. Soy honesto. Okay. I'm intelligent. Soy inteligente. They are basic answers, and interviewers don't want to listen those answers. Son respuestas muy cortas, muy básicas, y los entrevistadores no quieren escuchar esto. So, stop saying I'm honest. Stop saying I'm responsible. Stop saying I'm intelligent. Okay, because everybody intelligent, right? Okay, guys. The second question the interviewer probably ask you is about your experiences. La segunda pregunta que tu entrevistador te hará es sobre tus experiencias. Your experiences, okay? Your field of action, tu campo de acción. So it's necessary to consider the companies in which you have worked. Por eso es necesario que tú consideres las compañías en las cuales tú has trabajado. The functions you developed in those companies, las funciones que tú desarrollaste en esas compañías, ¿ok? The job, el trabajo, ¿ok? O las funciones de ese cargo que tú tuviste, ¿ok? De ese puesto, de ese place you had in that enterprise, de ese lugar, posición que tú tuviste en esa compañía, ¿ok? I recommend you at least mention three of the most important experiences or companies in which you have worked. Yo te recomiendo al menos mencionar 3 experiencias de las compañías en otras empresas para las que tú has trabajado. Just 3. Solo 3. And, of course, take into account that everything needed to be or to have evidence. Y que todo debe tener evidencia. Okay? How you are going to certify your experiences. ¿Cómo tú vas a certificar tus experiencias? Through recommendations, through letters, a través de recomendaciones, a través de cartas. That's very important, okay? Because if you don't have a letter, if you don't have a recommendation, okay, a labor letter, porque si tú no tienes una recomendación o una carta laboral, okay, signifies nothing, significa nada. So you don't count with that experience. Así que tú no cuentas con esa experiencia. So for that reason, it's necessary to consider certifications, to have certifications to prove that you really worked for that company or that enterprise. Para realmente certificar que tú trabajaste para esa empresa o esa compañía. Okay? Well, the next question is tell or consider your abilities as a person, okay, as a professional. La siguiente pregunta es considerar tus habilidades como persona o como un profesional, okay? What I recommend you to answer. ¿Qué te recomiendo yo responder? Okay? So, you need to consider or to mention that you are good at working under pressure, puedes indicar que tú eres buena trabajando bajo presión, ¿ok? Or in a work team, o que eres bueno, or collaborating, helping others, ayudando a otros en un equipo de trabajo, for example. For companies and for interviewers, para las compañías y para los entrevistadores, it's necessary to know your ability to cooperate, to construct, to grow together. Para los entrevistadores es importante conocer qué tan bueno tú eres colaborando, construyendo y trabajando juntos. Okay? Okay? Your ability to survive. Tu habilidad para sobrevivir. Okay? Your ability to get along very well with others. Because getting along very well with others is very important. If you get along very well with others, so the company grows up. Si tú te llevas bien con todos, la compañía va a crecer. Okay? But negative aspects allow the companies decrease. Porque aspectos negativos hacen que las compañías caigan. Okay? So it's not convenient for a company, it's not convenient for a group of people. Así que no es conveniente para un grupo de personas. Okay? Those negative aspects, okay, in groups, esos aspectos negativos en grupos. Always think about this. You need to get along, or at least to try get along with others. Debes considerar esto. Necesitas llevarte bien con otras personas, o al menos intentar llevarte bien con otras personas. Try to get along very well with others, and also something important you need to remember. Y además algo importante que tú necesitas recordar. And it is helping others. That the interviewer knows, that the interviewers could perceive, que los entrevistadores puedan percibir that your purpose is to help the group, to help the company, que puedan percibir que tú estás dispuesto a ayudar a la compañía y a ayudar como grupo. Okay? So, that's essential for an enterprise. Así que eso es esencial para una empresa. The next question you need to take into account is about your weaknesses. La siguiente pregunta que tú debes considerar es acerca de your weaknesses, tus debilidades. But, there's a but. How did you convert these weaknesses? ¿Cómo tú convertiste estas debilidades into advantages for your life or for your professional style? ¿Cómo tú convertiste estas debilidades en habilidades para tu vida o tu vida profesional, tu estilo profesional? Okay? For example, I consider I'm not a punctual person. Tal vez puedes decir que no te consideras una persona puntual, but how did you improve? ¿Cómo mejoraste? Or how do you pretend to improve in that debilidad? ¿Cómo tú pretendes mejorar en esa debilidad? Okay? Of course, we have weaknesses. Desde luego tenemos weaknesses, debilidades. But we need to have in mind, pero debemos tener en mente that we need to improve them. Okay? To get better people, to be better professionals, okay, in our field of actions. Pero debemos tener en cuenta que debemos mejorarlas para ser mejores personas en nuestro campo de acción, en nuestra professional style. Alright? So, it's necessary to consider from this moment, así que es necesario considerar desde este momento your abilities and your weaknesses, and how did you improve your weaknesses, or how do you pretend to improve those weaknesses? Okay? Important aspects you need to consider. Well, I forgot to say you something important, but I'm going to express it in this moment. And at the beginning of the conversation, al principio de la conversación, you need to know how to respond and how are you efficiently. Tú necesitas saber cómo responder un how are you, un cómo estás de manera eficiente. Okay? Remember that your purpose in a job interview is to give the best impression of yourself. Recuerda que en una entrevista de trabajo, tu propósito es dar la mejor impresión de ti mismo. So it's not appropriated, así que no es apropiado responder un how are you just saying, oh, I'm fine, thanks, or fine or good. It's not appropriated because you are into a job interview, okay? You are into applying for a job. Tú estás aplicando para un trabajo, de posición en trabajo, okay? So, maybe you are wondering, well, teacher, so what kind of expressions do we need to use for answering a how are you? Tal vez te estás preguntando cuáles respuestas puedes dar para un how are you, ¿cómo estás? Well, number one, saying never been better. Número uno, decir esta expresión, this English expression, never, nunca, been, estado, better, mejor. Never been better. It's a good answer, okay? This answer gives a good and a great impression of yourself. Esta respuesta da una muy buena impresión de ti mismo. Number two, I can't complain, could be worse. I can't complain, could be worse. No me quejo, podría estar peor. It's a good one, okay? And number three, better than I deserve. So just suppose the interviewer asks you, solo supón que el entrevistador te pregunta, hey, Mr. Fernandez, how are you? How's everything going? How is it going? Okay? So your best options will be saying, number one, never been better. Number two, I can't complain, could be worse. And number three, better than I deserve. Better, mejor, than I deserve, de lo que yo esperaba. Mejor de lo que yo expectaba. Okay? Because these answers allow you give a good impression of yourself, a formal impression of yourself. A job interview is a formal situation. Okay? Una entrevista de trabajo es una situación formal. So you need to be prepared for giving the best impression of yourself. Así que tú necesitas dar la mejor impresión de ti mismo. The best impression of yourself. To demonstrate the interviewer you have something that others don't have. Demostrar al entrevistador que tú tienes algo que otros no tienen. Okay? You have talents that others don't have. Okay? From this moment, you need to start discovering those talents because sometimes it's a complicated question. Okay? For everybody. Desde este momento necesitas pensar en eso porque a veces es una pregunta complicada para todos. So think about your talents. Pensar acerca de tus talentos. But the most important thing is to consider what makes you different from others. ¿Qué te hace a ti diferente de otros? Okay? So, please remember, question number one. Tell me something about you or tell me something about yourself. Question number two. What are your experiences? Okay? Could you tell me about your experiences? ¿Podrías contarme acerca de tus experiencias? Question number three. What are your abilities? ¿Cuáles son tus habilidades? Question number 4. What are your weaknesses? ¿Cuáles son tus debilidades? And how did you transform your weaknesses into abilities? ¿Y cómo tú transformaste tus debilidades hacia habilidades? How did you improve those disadvantages into advantages, for example? ¿Cómo transformaste esas desventajas en ventajas? Perfect? That's something really necessary you need to consider about yourself. The next question will focus, la siguiente pregunta se enfocará in your studies, on your studies. What did you study? ¿Qué estudiaste? Okay? When did you get graduated? ¿Cuándo te graduaste? Important dates you need to consider for a job interview. Fechas importantes que tú necesitas considerar. Considerar en una job interview. When did you get graduated? ¿Cuándo te graduaste? Okay, from high school. Okay, desde la high school. Okay, when you were studying at the university, cuando estabas estudiando en la universidad. Okay, okay. If you have a PhD, si tienes un PhD o un doctorado, okay, and so on. And how do you certify those abilities, okay, those studies? ¿Y cómo tú certificas esos estudios, okay? So, I recommend you memorizing dates. Te recomiendo memorizar esas fechas, okay? Because usually interviewers ask you, when did you get graduated from a bachelor, okay? Porque a veces los entrevistadores te preguntan cuándo te graduaste de tu licenciatura, o when did you graduate from your high school, o cuándo te graduaste de tu high school, okay? How long, hace cuánto, okay? Y debes expresar en years, en años, y hablar de esas special and important dates. Y debes hablar de esas fechas y fechas especiales importantes. Okay? So that's the question number 5. Mention your studies. Mencionar tus estudios. But remember that not all what you studied is important for the company or for the enterprise. Pero recuerda que no todo lo que tú estudiaste es importante para la compañía o para la empresa. Okay? For example, if you did a course about swimming, do you consider it's necessary to have a course of swimming? ¿Tú consideras que es necesario tener un curso de nadar for working in a company about technology, for example? Para trabajar en una compañía de tecnología? Of course, no. Okay? So you just mentioned all those studies that be really necessary and important for the job you are applying. Solo mencionar esos cursos o estudios que tú hiciste para aplicar a ese puesto de trabajo. Okay? That's something important you need to take into account, because usually people have a lot of diplomas, certifications, okay, and papers and more papers, but with the studies that are not necessary for the company, pero con estudios que no son necesarios para la compañía. Okay? And you need to consider that. And remember, everything you mentioned that day, everything you mentioned in that job interview, todo lo que tú menciones en una job interview, you need to support it. Tú necesitas soportarlo. And how do you support that? With documents. ¿Y cómo tú soportas eso? Con documentos. Okay? If you're going to describe or if you're going to mention a study that is not certified, don't mention it. Si vas a mencionar un estudio que no está certificado, ok, para el que no tienes, you don't have a support, para el que no tienes un soporte, don't mention it. No lo menciones, okay? Or if you are going to mention that you worked for a particular company, but you don't have how to support that, don't mention it. O si tú vas a hablar de una compañía para que trabajaste, pero no tienes un certificado como soportarlo, no lo menciones, okay? So, I recommend you these tips for get a good and a great job interview. Te recomiendo estos tips para conseguir una genial entrevista de trabajo. I'm pretty sure these tips are going to help you at all. Estoy seguro que estos tips te van a ayudar mucho. Remember that this is Language English Academy. Language English Academy, the virtual English academy that makes your dreams come true. Recuerda que esta es Language English Academy, la academia de inglés virtual que hace tus sueños realidad. I'm the teacher George, soy el teacher George, and it was a pleasure to have you this night. Y fue un placer tenerte esta noche aquí. I wish you the best. I wish nothing but the best. No les deseo sino lo mejor. God bless you and have a good one. See you next time. Bye bye.